So we're back to We Make Bad Decisions versus Here Comes the Cobra, also known as Cobra Boys, as I get the draft underway. The first bands have changed slightly from the first half draft we had, but they're coming out pretty quick. We have Queen of Pain, Undying, Lesharok, and Bloodseeker. All very popular in the current meta, all very team fight oriented and everything else. I'm curious to see how the International 5 meta is going to trickle over into Amateur League Dota and see if teams try to imitate the playstyles we saw in the main event of the International. Of course, there was I don't think there was a ton of deviation from popular meta throughout this year's International, especially compared to previous years. But everyone had a very distinct playstyle, as the announcers were discussing for the grand finale. CDEC Gaming liked to rotate to the safe lane very early under the guise of smoke.
5 seconds remaining.
And they did it so often and so early that even if teams were expecting it, it would still catch them off guard. But We Make Bad Decisions picking up a Darkseer, a very common pickup amongst the International, and similarly, Cobra Boys are picking up Storm Spirit and Bounty Hunter, two very popular heroes in the current meta. Bounty Hunter is a personal favorite of mine as one of those fourth slot soft supports, if you will, who just kind of roam around, provide vision, and of course, track can never be underestimated, providing a giant pile of gold for Bounty Hunter himself, and speeding up the farm of the fellow cores on his team.
10 seconds remaining.
We have some Twitch chat recommendations for picks saying pick Dragon Knight, ban Storm Spirit, but so far neither of those are going to come true. We have Storm Spirit in the game, and Dragon Knight has yet to be picked. The bans that have come out, though: Gyrocopter, Phantom Lancer, two of the strongest carries in the game right now, as well as Anti-Mage, who I believe had the highest gold per minute farm rate for the main event of the International under Silence play of Anti-Mage, and he broke the 910 gold per minute. And Dazzle also banned out by Here Comes the Cobra as one of the most popular support picks, and largely, I believe, due to his ability to toss Shallow Grave on heroes and keep them in the fight, sometimes indefinitely, but certainly long enough to have a substantial impact after they would have normally died. Twitch chat encouraging me to say, I love La Papa. So, here you are. I love La Papa. That's for you, Deep Thuggin. One of the heroes picked up by We Make Bad Decisions, Omni Knight. He'll likely be the hard support for their team. And to my knowledge, the only time he was picked up at the International was during the 10 vs 10 All-Star game, where Omni Knight's agonism...
Witch Doctor.
Scepter. I'm just gonna skip it.
Dire team pick.
I am gonna be real thirsty. See, it's my lack of a drink. Not having a drink is making me incapable of saying the word agonism. Wow. I'm gonna go get a drink. See if that does help.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
There you go. little bit of water and a little bit of a brain reset, and I can now say Aghanim's Scepter. While I was gone, looks like Cobra Boys pick up their hard support in the form of a Witch Doctor.
Shadow Shaman.
Radiant team
But as I was saying, Omni Knight picked up in the All-Star game during the International. His Aghanim Scepter Ultimate saved a bunch of his teammates and the throne, which dipped below 100 HP on the side of the Radiant, who eventually came back to win the game.
5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban.
Whole bunch of energy being tossed around Twitch chat. Loving it. And the final ban coming out on the side of Cobra Boys is the Slark. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not terribly afraid of a Slark. I think he's a little bit
Dire team pick.
overhyped right now. But if you don't want to play against them, you don't want to play against them. So regardless, he's banned out. He won't be seeing the light of day in this matchup. For their last pick, here comes the Cobra pick up a Shadow Fiend. So I'm curious to see who they're going to put in the safe lane between the two. I suspect Shadow Fiend will be mid, but of course Storm Spirit plays a very viable mid.
5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
And we're eating into the reserve time here on the side of we make bad decisions in light of that final pickup, because I don't know if it was fully expected. I know I certainly didn't expect it myself. It's a bit unorthodox, but that's a good way to be. You want to keep your opponents guessing. And pulling up some quick statistics here, it looks like Storm Spirit plays mid 86.5% of the time. So clearly he's a very common mid player. But in this case, I'd be shocked to see anybody but Shadow Fiend take over that mid lane. Now as we get into the game, I will throw up the Darmin branded overlays. And we will get underway. So this is going to be game 1 in a 2-game series between We Make Bad Decisions and Cobra Boys. Going through team introductions here, we have Casey playing the Storm Spirit. Whoa, jumped to a tower for some reason. We have Robin Socks playing the Bounty Hunter. And looks like he's going to be heading up to the enemy jungle here. Shadow Fiend heading to the bottom rune, and he is played by Loose Pus. Strutting along. And the default Shadow Fiend set needs to get some of those sexy new immortals. Start winning those style points. Witch Doctor, rocking an immortal himself, is going to be played by Senex. And I'm going to jump out of the character screen here for just a moment, as it looks like there is going to be a bit of a fight and scramble of the top rune, with Tusker rolling into Papa's Witch Doctor, and the Witch Doctor cask is tossed into the team. And even though it's only 5 versus 4, it looks like We Make Bad Decisions are going to retreat and just take the little bit of damage that they suffered and call it a day. So the final introduction for Here Comes the Cobra is Wayne's World playing the Tusker, and he is going to be the obvious candidate for the off lane on the side of Here Comes the Cobra. Jumping over to We Make Bad Decisions, you have Kip playing the Omni Knight, and coming up to harass Tusker out of lane here a little bit, doing a little dance with him. The off lane for We Make Bad Decisions is being played by Mint, on the Dark Seer. The hard carry role is going to be picked up by Dirty, playing the Phantom Assassin. Seen here trying to rack up those last hits under the protection of her two supports, who are both just trying to keep that Tusker at bay a little bit. Speaking of those supports, here's the other protecting the Phantom Assassin. Broden 1616 playing the Shadow Shaman in the safe lane. And in the mid lane, going up against Storm Spirit, we have Papa. And as I finished up those introductions, it looks like we did have the first blood in the top lane, with Bounty Hunter falling to the combined efforts of everybody in the top lane on the side of We Make Bad Decisions. And between the heal bomb, the blinking PA, and the control coming out from Shadow Shaman, who's put 2 points into his control abilities, it's going to be a fair amount. But Robin Sox has respawned, regenerated, and rotated himself to the middle lane alongside KC, where I'm sure he's hoping to recover from his start a little bit and see if he can harass the silencer. He throws a hit on him. KC, with his overcharge, is going to slow him down, and that's going to be enough. Between that and the recent level 2 level from Robin Sox, which allowed him to get the Shuriken and toss it into silencer for the killing blow. PA getting rolled on by Tusker. Sorry about the pause there, guys. I was reading Twitch chat, and it seems to be an eclectic combination of screams, laughs, calling people rude, and of course the also pleasant smack talk that exists in Dota, where they're calling out one another's draft a little bit, but it's all in the game. Kip has rotated to the middle lane, where he is going to be dewarding for Papa. And then looks like he's not going to be sticking around. He's going to be rotating back top. But this ward is going to catch out the rotation of Robin Sox, who should have noticed or should have been alerted by Storm Spirit that that ward had been dropped because it was used to kill the Observer ward that the Dire had placed there. But he's still looking to stick around. He wants to go in on Papa again. And KC rotates in with an invisibility from the rune in the bot lane. And we'll have a rotation by Omni Knight here, but it's going to be a little bit too late. Silencer does get the counter kill on Bounty Hunter, but he falls. So that's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. And the lane's going to be taken over by Kip here for a little bit as he starts to get a couple more levels. Slightly faster rotation from him might have been able to save the silencer, but I think he was just standing a little bit too aggressively, coming too far forward in the tower, knowing that the Bounty Hunter was there to spot him out. We Make Bad Decisions doing an excellent job of buying these early sentry wards that are not only starving out the vision for the Dire or the Radiant side, but also keeping a close eye on the Bounty Hunter, who seems to have been spending most of his time in these top and middle lanes. And the supports for We Make Bad Decisions have acknowledged that by warding up both of those locations. They try to counter ward themselves in the top lane. They drop the first back here, and it's not able to spot out the enemy ward, but placing a second one a little bit further up does allow them to kill the opposing sentry ward. Now this is going to open up this top lane for a bit more harassment by Robin Sox. Getting some GG Papa Sucks in the Twitch chat to follow up my I love Papa. So yeah, I have a little bit of love, a little bit of hate. Silencer, let's see what you do for the team, as that is all that matters in Dota. Love them or hate them, if you have the plays in the game, you'll be able to silence all the haters and embrace all the lovers, I guess.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Bottom lane sitting pretty quiet, and even though we have Mint playing the Darkseer, it seems like every time I look down at the lane, it's pushed into the Dire side of the map. The jungle has been stacked up quite a bit here by Sonics and Loose Pus. It looks like Sonics did body block the creep pull that Shadow Fiend had started, so he won't get another stack out of it, but there's 3-4 stacks there already, so he'll clean that up, get another surge of gold, and be on his way. It also puts him at 29 Necromancer recharges as he continues to build up here, as his Necromastery skilled all the way to 4 points, so he can get up to 36 charges on it. And after clearing up this wave, that's where he'll be. So he'll be capped out on his damage.
Denied. Bountiful.
Cobra Boys making excellent use of these runes. It seems like they've had rune control for the majority of the game. Sonic's rotating from the safe lane to the mid lane here, but he's going to be spotted out by the enemy observer ward, and Broden 1616's in position as well. But you kind of have a pincher move coming here between Sonics, who's retreated back to the middle lane, and Robin Socks. KC hitting level 6, zips in on Papa, and with Robin Socks there to open up with the Shuriken toss, it's going to be enough damage to bring him down, and they go after Broden, who tried to rotate up to save his ally, but there was no saving him. The burst damage was just too great from the side of Cobra Boys, and so they actually dropped not only the core Papa, but the backup who was intending to save his life on Broden. So that's a 2-for-0 trade going the way of Cobra Boys. Meanwhile, I missed another kill, and it looks like... no, I did not. That was the 1-for-1 death that got Bounty Hunter, I believe. The Shadow Fiend and Witch Doctor applying a little bit more pressure to this bottom lane, but Mint diving back behind his tower. He still had Surge available, so he wasn't in any true danger. And Broden since respawned and rotated bot as well. But some aggression on top. You have Tusker rolling in, and Broden rotating to the top with a Town Portal Scroll. The Ice Shards thrown and Track thrown on PA. And it looks like Wayne's World is going to be able to get away. Durden trying to chase after him with his Blink Strike, doing a little bit of damage, but not quite enough to catch him out. They do, however, catch out Robin Socks, who had stuck around a little bit too deeply and a little bit too long, and got spotted out by the rotation of Papa. And immediately, the Radiant side decide to pop a smoke and dive further into Radiant territory. They do spot out Storm Spirit, but he grabs an invisibility rune and he'll just waddle away. Loose Bus continuing to farm here. We'll take a quick look at the last hits denies, and he is ahead by a huge margin right now. Part of that coming compliments of the stacks that had been built up in this camp here, and he's got another one being built next to it as well. Sonic's continuing to hang out in this jungle, trying to stack up the creeps. Missing that one a little bit, but they do ping out
Dire's bottom tower
the
has been denied.
stacked camp, notifying PA that it's ready for him. Darkseer, under aggression in this bottom lane, was able to deny the tower, so that'll be some extra coins going the way of the Radiant team if they're sitting on that quest still. And I catch the last seconds here of the kill against Wayne's World, where Broden was able to get the shackles off on him with Dirty doing the damage, doing that dirty damage on PA.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Robin Sox rotating up, throwing out a track on both the safe lane players on the Dire side, but I think that'll be used mostly just for extra vision, not as an aggressive move at all, as he does not currently have any support. And with Omni rotating in, it'll be spotted out by that track, so he shouldn't get too aggressive here, knowing that there are at least 3 Dire heroes in the lane. But you have a little bit of rotation from Radiant side to the top lane, and the Dire, meanwhile, are rotating into the jungle to see if they can spot out this Shadow Fiend, who I now believe they are suspecting is doing those jungles.
Radiant's
And the
bottom
3
tower
heroes
is under attack.
in the safe lane are going to be able to drop the hard carry from We Make Bad Decisions and the Omni Knight, with Casey having enough mana and enough bottle to zip around. He did bottle up the regen rune before he came up here, so that's what allowed him to have enough mana to cast that first zip from about his first tower into the secret shop and catch PA slightly out of position. With those 2 kills, they're going to look to pressure this tier 1 tower and take the second tower of the game. Meanwhile, Shadow Fiend, with his very high net worth, is going to
Dire's middle tower has
drop the middle tower before Dirty has a chance to rotate in. He throws out a dagger to try to slow him down, see if they can catch him out, but the damage was already done, the tower had already fallen, and that's going to be Tower 2 and likely Tower 3 to fall on the Dire side. But heavy rotations coming in from both the supports. Broden drops his ultimate, but he's likely going to fall here with the 3 heroes having enough damage. They do get a return kill on the Bounty Hunter. Witch Doctor drops his ult to catch out Omni Knight, and they will get him as well with the Wayne's World Tusker Snowball into PA. Storm is caught slightly behind the ice shards, but he'll zip ahead, throw out that last overload, and drop PA. So it is a 3-for-1 trade. It also expended the ultimate of Shadow Shaman to defend that. They were able to get the defense, but at this point I think it might not have been worth it. Instead of fighting out here in this part of the map, I think they should have fought back here behind the allied tower and had that additional coverage and the additional teleport point for any allies who could have joined them in the fight. And Tusker, Shadow Shaman trying to make a go of it again as they roll on to Dirty, but the Silencer ultimate is popped, silencing the Radiant team for a little while. Dirty blinks back to Kip, who's able to throw his magic shield on him, but there's enough. Here comes the Cobra players in the vicinity to continue the aggression, and right now it looks like all 5 of them are there. They're going to re-engage on Dirty, also dropping the Shadow Shaman. Silencer in the woods is going to be picked off as well, and that's a 4-for-0 fight, with 3 of those kills going the way of the Bounty Hunter, who was tossing tracks and glaives around. So that fight right there is going to be worth 3k in favor of the Radiant side, and with yet another tower, they're going to further their gold lead. I don't believe the chart has updated. Oh, yep, it's got the tower on there. So it looks like they're sitting right at around 10k, and if they break this tower, it'll be even more. All 5 heroes still grouped up here. Wayne's World sitting at half health, but everyone else looking pretty healthy. Have most of their mana. The Dire team rotating in with full health, full mana after that nearly team wipe, and they're going to see if they can catch out some of these players with a bit too much aggression. Kip, manning the front lines for his team as a support, is going to pay with his life, and as such he doesn't have time to react to the pressure being put on his hard carry, who also dies in the mix. They do grapple the Shadow Fiend down in between the Shackle and the Snake Wards. They'll bring him down, so it's not a complete loss for them. They do drop the very high value target Shadow Fiend, and that alone is going to be worth even though it was a 3-for-1 loss, the Dire team still coming out ahead from the net worth there. Silence going on to Papa as he retreats back to the safety of his allies, and Robin Socks and KC are just continuing to apply pressure. It's one thing I really like about the Storm Spirit, not only in this meta, but one of the reasons he's been popular for a long time, is he is able to apply a lot of aggression. And you combine that with a bounty hunter who roams around and provides you additional vision, track vision, and track gold, and you got yourself a pretty deadly and potent combo, even if allies are ducking, or not allies, but enemies are ducking into woods and under towers. Storm Spirit's still very likely to see him if track has been applied, and he'll be able to zip in, grab people out, and explode them. I mean, if you look at Silencer here, he's sitting at 800 life. You have less than 800 life on the PA. Quite likely your most, your tankiest target on Darkseer, who's rocking 2 headdresses right now. Omni Knight sitting on about 800 himself, and Shadow Shaman coming in second on his team's health meter with 900 health. 900 health is 8 to 900 health is nothing for Storm Spirit to cut through very quickly, as it looks like he did kind of go that 414 build, likely starting 404.
Oh, invisibility.
With the Overload and Static Remnant, so he can just ball lightning in, drop a Remnant, Overload, and explode someone. Kip needs to be a little bit careful here, as he's constantly acting as the front lines for his team. I know they don't have anyone with a ton of health quite yet, but throwing your Omni Knight in your lead position there is going to prevent him from being able to cast his Repel and Purification, his heal, onto some of the targets that really will need it, like your PA. And if he's exploded too quick, or he's caught out by Storm who can silence him, he'll never even get off that Guardian Angel. So I think the ultimates on We Make Bad Decisions are going to be what make or break this game for them. If they have some extremely clutch silences and some very critical ultimates from the Omni Knight, they'll be able to take these team fights, which right now they're losing every time they go in. But it's going to be an uphill battle. Both Shadow Fiend and Storm Spirit are sitting at about twice the net worth of Dirty, who's trying to find some farm here, continuing to sit in the safe lane under the protection of multiple supports, but it's not always enough. It looks like he's continuing to trail, obviously, the top 2 for Cobra Boys, but losing traction faster and faster. Just a few moments go by, and we're sitting at a 12k lead for Here Comes the Cobra. And between that tower, the Shadow Shaman kill, and they might be able to pick up a Darkseer. Dirty blinks in, but he's been kind of left out by himself. The Omni Knight sitting in the background is able to get his ultimate off this time, and the entirety of the We Make Bad Decisions team surge forward to see if they can take a team fight under the Silencer ult. But here comes the Cobra pop. There are BKBs and track golds across multiple targets. They turn, they face, and they just completely wipe We Make Bad Decisions. The Requiem of Souls from Shadow Fiend hitting multiple targets and dropping, and not only doing a significant amount of damage, but also reducing the damage output of the Dire team. So everyone on Here Comes the Cobra is sitting pretty healthy. Half health and above. The Witch Doctor did go down, but I mean, he's sitting at the lowest net value or net worth of his team, and so he doesn't care, I'm sure. He'll trade his life for the entirety of the opposing team any day of the week. That Aegis of the Immortal sitting on the ground for quite a while, but nobody in position from Bad Decisions to make the leap and try for the steal. I think even if they did, they'd be eliminated quickly.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
KC finding himself yet another invisibility rune, and he'll rotate
Radiant's
deep into enemy
structures are
territory, but
fortified.
he's pinged out by Silencer, who did spot him with their sentry ward here. So Bad Decisions should be aware of this, and they're doing the right thing in staying in their base and staying in a very defensive position.
Radiant's top tower
Papa
has
comes
been
out
denied.
and sees if he can bait the Storm Spirit into going on him, knowing his allies are right behind him. But Casey rotates the bottom lane, hits a little bit more farm, and then retreats back. So it looks like the game's slowed down here a little bit. We're sitting on a kill total of 21-8 in favor of Cobra Boys, and they've retreated back to the jungle. They're picking off some stacks. They're getting that net worth lead even higher. So with the last tower in the bottom lane and the team fight that happened kind of around the secret shop and the
Dire's middle
ancients
tower
on the
is
dire
under
side of the map, along with the Roshan, they're going up and up and up, approaching the 20k mark here at the 23-minute mark. And anytime you're generating 1,000 net worth lead per minute against your opponent, you're doing something right. So we're going to see them try to use this aggression and use this gold advantage they have to get a pick off under the guise of smoke, and then they'll likely push for the high ground with the pick off and the Aegis in tow. They find Kip as he goes up to ward, throw out the track, drop him immediately. Shadow Shaman just explodes in the crossfire, and they're trying to pick off Dirty and Darkseer, but there's a little bit of split DPS going off. But with Robin Sock and KC beating on the PA, it's going to be enough damage between that, the track, and the Shuriken to drop them. And so it's going to be a 3-0. And it looks like the Dire team is pinging out the top tower saying, hey, they're probably going to be here. And it looks like that's exactly what Cobra Boys are going to do, but I don't see Bad Decisions being able to mount a defense in time to save this tower.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified. Dire's
And
top
as the bulk of the
tower
team
is
take the top tower, Loose Puss on the Shadow Fiend take mid, and that is going to be it for the outer towers of Bad Decisions, who are now facing quite the uphill battle as it's 20k and climbing, favoring the Radiant side. Cask bouncing around on some of these allies in the backgrounds, and Casey uses it as an opportunity to jump in. Between him and Bounty Hunter, they are able to drop the Omni Knight. There's tracks on nearly every target on the Dire side. Again, Shadow Shaman just exploding in the crossfires And after they take out a couple of those supports, specifically the Omni Knight, they turn their focus to the hard carry. And following that repeat 3-for-0 trade, they're going to call GG, and that is going to be game 1 going the way of Cobra Boys with a very impressive start. I would not be surprised to see Storm Spirit banned out in this next game, as it looked like Bad Decisions did struggle with that quite a bit. Storm Spirit showing an impressive 11-0 and 11, so he was at 22 of his team's fights, and I didn't quite check to see who had the highest net worth at the end of the game there between Shadow Fiend and Storm Spirit, but both of them having a very solid showing, and it looks like Shadow Fiend would have had a little bit higher as he has a higher gold per minute, but both of them impressively farming the map in their respective ways. Shadow Fiend capturing up a ton of last hits, Storm Spirit obviously getting a lot of last hits on heroes, which is just as valuable, and after doing so, he was able to rotate around the map and pretty much terrorize Bad Decisions. So that's game 1 going the way of Cobra Boys. We will take a brief 2 to 3 minute break here, I suspect, and be back for game 2 in this 4th week matchup between Cobra Boys and We Make Bad Decisions. Stay tuned.